Good morning. Welcome to Morning Tea with me. I am Sensei Mish. It is Friday, January 27th. God, we're almost a full month into 2023. That's just crazy. I got my morning tea with me as I get emails just popping in. So how have all you been? Hi, wife.
Hello, husband.
Lisa is home today. She might join us. I don't know. All right. So, I learned something this week. I learn something every week, but I learned something this week. So I don't get it wrong. And I unfortunately may have actually deleted it. Where is it? Oh, wrong one. Here we go. So I have figured out why my emails, sometimes my personal emails, but why my business emails end up in junk, especially with Gmail and the like. So this is interesting. Now, I did not know this, but this is a thing. So specifically, Google has this thing. It's called an SPF. I can't remember exactly what that stands for, but it's basically a code to let Google know that the email is not spam. And I have a couple different online students. One of them I meet once a month, and so he was like, "Hey," reaches out. He emails me. He starts it off saying, "Hey, this is the next time I'm free. Let's get to, can we get together on this day? Our normal time, normal day, but can we get together on this day?" And it's like, yeah, no problem. And so we were actually having a back and forth email conversation, setting everything up. And I said, I have a new way for you to pay if you want. So I was giving those options. And when he was like, yeah, no problem, I send him a response email because he had paid, but there was a problem with the first payment. So he did it again, but both of them went through, and, weird. But I sent him an email saying, hey, both of them went through, but I'm good on, blah, blah, blah. He has a Gmail. Gmail sent my email back. It actually said I got one of those undelivered mail return to sender. Usually I get those because the email is bad or whatever. No, this one says, this message does not pass authentication checks. So I'm having an active email conversation with this guy. And I mean, it's part of the same thread. And Google's like, yeah, your email is no good to us, so we're just going to send it back. And I'm like, what? So that's how I learned about SPF. And so and I get it. It's a way to kind of curb down junk mail. I totally get it. But so I called my, I clicked on a link because it said, here, learn more. So I clicked on the link and it took me to this one spot on Google and talked to me about, told me about what SPF is. And then there's another thing that I could do called DKIM. But both did not pass. So DKIM is a little bit more like codey. So like it's a little bit more involved. SPF is really simple. So my host, my email host, web host, they have kind of a default SPF for every account, or for every domain. And so for mine, it was it did not have an SPF. You could actually sit and just go, okay, use default one. But because I also use MailChimp for my newsletter, when I actually send them out, I had to put MailChimp's little code in there. So when it goes out, the servers are like, oh, this is not, it's a newsletter. It's not spam. It's, so I had to customize one, and it's really easy. It took me some time to find what MailChimp's was, but it was actually really easy to set up. It's funny because my emails aren't getting sent back now, which is so that was kind of interesting. So that was my big learn of this week, which hopefully will improve some of my communication with outside peoples, because I hate saying, oh, here's my business card, or here's an email, here's my email address, email me. So, or you can put your email in whatever, and then or you can put my email in your contacts, so I don't go to junk mail. Now, hopefully, I won't go to junk mail anymore. Like, the system will actually, it was kind of funny because when I was talking to my service provider, they were like, well, Google this is a Google standard that they came up with, and everybody follows Google. And so that's kind of where that SPF came from. And it's interesting because, when I've looked through the back end of creating different, on my websites, of, having it, the file point to this directory and all this kind of stuff, I've seen the button there before, but I never really paid attention to it because I don't know what it is. So, yeah. Good morning, Rob. How are you? I've got a couple people else on with a little eye in the sky. Why don't you guys, if you can, poke in and say hi. And then, of course, if as you log in, share this. It's going out to the public. Let everybody listen to my morning ramblings. Yeah. So it was a good. Young, how are you, sir? Yeah. So this is it's been fun. I did because yesterday was the first. John, good morning, sir. Yesterday was the first episode of a new batch of episodes for Kyushu Corner. Ashton and I filmed. He and I filmed 5, and then I filmed another 6th one, which I've already done some TikToks about this. The one that I did on my own about tape. I don't know. I think I've talked to you guys about that. Excellent. Bruised from some Muay Thai drills. Oh, well, that's always good. Got to keep our bodies all toughened up. So, why do I not have a battery? Okay, so this really said I have this charger. It's an awesome. It's a wireless charger. So, but I put it on. It's kind of like hid behind something, and so I kind of I'll put it on the charger at night, and it's actually a Millennium Falcon. So so the little blue engines light up, and then it dings because it's a wireless thing, and I make sure that it's charging. Well, obviously it didn't charge because I have like no battery. I have like 26%. That's so weird. So shoot, where was I going with that? God, I hate it. I hate being that little squirrel. Um, let's see, because we were talking about the SPF, and then yeah, I think I'd finished talking about that. Anyway, so let's see. I one of the things I've been trying to do is reach out. Trying to get myself more integrated into the schools so I can be more present, get that brand awareness, even though I'm not wearing an artisan shirt today, just, being more involved in the community. So to do anything at the schools, I had to do a background check for volunteering, and which is nothing new for me. With when my kids were in school and I was volunteering all the time, I had to do it. So it was just basically just doing a new one. Hadn't done it for a while, but just doing a new one. So when I did it, and I can't remember if I guys had told you when I did it, but it was at, this one thing came up. It was like, do you, as a volunteer, are you interested in learning more about this community engagement committee that you can be on and within the Evergreen School District? And I was like, no, I had actually never heard of that, but yes, I am interested. So, I click the little box, complete my application. So I get an email saying, yes, you can, you've passed all the tests. And then I get an email from this guy who runs the committee and is saying, oh, hey, would you like to be on, you said you wanted to be on it. This is what it is. And we have a training on this day, and these are when the meetings are going to be. So the meetings sometimes potentially conflict with something I'm doing with Boys and Girls Club, because I finally got into Boys and Girls Club as far as actually filling out the volunteer background check. So we're still waiting for that to come back. So potentially, if that can actually follow through and I can get it, because as a volunteer, I have to do some online training and orientation. It's a whole thing. Then I'll be able to start a martial arts program with Boys and Girls Club at Burton Elementary. So that is a thing. I'm really excited about that. I did that years and years ago, but it was a different process that we went through. This actually seems like it's a little bit more official, and so it's going to be where I'm really excited about it. The other thing, the whole reason I did the whole thing for volunteering at Burton is because I want to do trying to get into the kindergarten and first grade to do a book read on focus and do some focus drills and all that kind of stuff. So it's one of those where it's like, yeah, this, so it's kind of like everything is coming together. So it's funny because I sent emails to the, I sent emails to the kindergarten teachers and the first grade teachers. And then I also did a written letter because I know that my email used to go to junk mail. So hopefully that won't happen anymore. So anyway, Tuesday, I think it's Tuesday the 7th. I will be going into the 3 kindergartens, 30 minutes at a time, each all individual, and doing this book read on focus and doing like a life skills talk. And the book I'm using is actually, I don't have it down here with me, but it's Brandon Beliso wrote a book, because he does the whole like Kids Love Life Skills, and it's basically a book about focus, which is one of the life skills, and he uses his kids as an example and he goes through it. So there's a couple different people that one in particular that I know that does this. He goes into the schools, does the book reads, does the life talk, does some basic focus drills, and the kids have a fun time and the teachers love it. So I'm like really, really digging in deep into this. That's awesome. A good opportunity to have a set of beta readers when you can get some of those children's books done. Absolutely, because this is that first step. So when it comes to my own books for kids, I could do that. Like I've got, if I can get in with this, then I can get, when I have my kids' books come out, be like, hey, let's do this again. And then we can, I can go in and we can talk about, read a book about Gichin Funakoshi or read about Jack Hogan or whoever, whoever the book is about. And then they get to learn more. And then not only that, I have a kid store, a toy store, like a few doors down from me. And she's already willing to, buy a couple of my books and put it on the shelf, for when it comes to the kids' books. So it's just a matter of doing the kids' books. So I've got so much going on, but this week has been, now at the same time, I lost 2 students this week. One is in India for a month, so he is returning, but I won't see him until the end of February. And then another one wanted to try boxing. So this is kind of a funny story. One of my business mentors, he and I were talking, and he said, and this wasn't Brandon, this is another guy, but loosely associated with Brandon. So he's like, okay, here's some things to try. Have you try, you have kid students, have your kid students work for you. I was like, okay. So he essentially suggested like a buddy day, but not really a buddy day where all the kids come in. It will be like, does the kid have a friend who thinks they will like martial arts? Just have the kid come in. Like, it's not a specific day. It's just bring your friend to class whenever they're available. So I set up this whole process. I talked to the kids. We even talked about incentives if that kid signs up, if the friend signs up, and how that might work. Got my kids kind of excited. Even one, I mean, we knew one was going to be going to India, so it is what it is. I did not know that the other one was going to do boxing, but this is kind of how it comes in. So one of my students, goes to his friend and says, hey, I'm doing karate. I think you might like it. Do you want to come to class with me? And the kid is like, oh, that sounds like fun. I'm actually doing boxing. Why don't you come to one of my boxing classes? I'll ask my instructor. That's cool. So the kid, my student, goes to his friend's boxing class first, and then comes back and says, I don't want to do karate anymore. So I guess I'm just not as exciting as boxing. But hey, when I told him, I was like, look, when he told me, hey, I want to do this, that's fine. Like, I want him to be happy. I want him to, if he's in my class and he's not having it, that's, I want him to stay. Actually, I told him, I said, I want you to miss me. I want you to come back. I said, but if going to boxing is going to make you happier and teach you skills that you don't think you're going to learn here, because it is going to teach him some skills that he may not, because boxing has its own set of things. That's fine. Like, I'm good with it. As long as, I just want him, the whole point is for him to become a better person. If he thinks that boxing is going to be that, then it is. So this whole plan of getting kids into the thing, yeah, I lost kids. Okay. Until he gets punched in the face, then he'll be back. Yeah, well, let's cross our fingers. I just hope he doesn't get hurt. I mean, I don't want my kids to get hurt. Martial arts should be fun. And a little bit painful, but and actually he was excelling. Like, this kid, he was getting everything. So he'll excel in anything he does. But yeah, I mean, I told him he's always welcome back. You know, just be safe, be safe. So now, I did lose 2 students, but I gained 1. So it's kind of like that 2 steps back, 1 step forward, or one step forward, 2 steps back. I guess it, that I guess you could, when I know this is my brain kind of bouncing around. That term, I think the way it's said, you could look at how you look at a glass of water. Is it half full or half empty? It could be a negative. I've always looked at it, that term, as a are 2 steps forward, 1 step back, as a negative. Okay. But it could be, if we turn it around, 2 steps back, 1 step forward, which is a positive, because yes, we've taken a couple steps back, but we're continuing to move forward. Oh, that's a blog post. That's a good blog. I like that. Okay. Oh my gosh, all of these. So, oh, maybe it's the same one. So I don't know if anybody else uses this. Okay. I use this thing. I'm on this website. It's called lessons.com. And I don't know how I got on there. I think I remember getting an email saying, "Oh, hey, update your profile." And I'm like, I don't ever remember signing up for this. So lessons.com is essentially a free website. You put all your stuff on there, and then, like, what do you teach? What do you teach? And then you get emails. Okay. You get emails or text messages. I get it in an email and a text message, but basically it's like, this person lives in Vancouver. I have the 98660. I have the zip code, so I know kind of, and it gives me a little map. I have the person's first name, last initial, and then what they're looking for. So self-defense, no experience, their student age between 26 and 45, disciplines interested in, what the teacher recommends, goals, learn how to protect myself, number of students. I never really understood the number of students. And this I've tried looking for this answer on their website, but number of students. Well, I'm assuming that it's 1 student, like, because it's them. But then other people, like other things that people have put on there, it's like, 3 to 4 students. And I'm like, are you looking for a group class? Like, it's weird. And then how often, as recommended by the instructor, as recommended. And then on the days and times available. Now, here's the thing, is that it is a free website to list my stuff, but to respond, it takes credits, and you buy credits. So I always buy just 2 credits at a time. The cool thing about this is that the cool thing about it is if the person, like, it says time left to quote. So basically I'm sending them a quote. So if I respond to this, it's like, I can either put in it. It's kind of weird, because it says, per lesson. I always just put NA, because I don't charge per lesson unless, of course, it's private. So I just put NA for need additional information. But then I just have I have a standard letter that I have one for, young artisans. I have this and this and this. Now, I have so much time to respond, and then they have so much time to see my quote. If they do not look at my quote within a certain amount of time, I get my credits back. So I'm not just, now, I've been using this thing for years. I think I've only what is it? I've only gotten 1 job off of this, and this was a somebody looking for security, self-defense for security training. Okay. And it was a $500 job. So, and it was really cool because the person that put the feelers out, I actually knew him from security. So, yeah, so that was, so that's only garnered me one job. I did early on, I did potentially connect with somebody, and we had this back and forth going. But she never showed up to the classes. And that's when I was teaching out in Oregon City. So, but it is what it is. So anyway, so I think I'll end up responding to her after I get off of here. But yeah, so lessons.com, I don't know anybody else who's used it. So, Rob says, did something similar a while back, and all I get are requests for personal training, never martial arts. Yeah. So I don't know. I look at it as it couldn't hurt. My stuff is up there. I get the information. And sometimes, like once, regardless of the quote, regardless if they look at the quote or not, you can still message them and message them back. So like after a week, whether they've looked at it and not gotten back to me, I always go back in there about a week later and be like, hey, have you found what you're looking for? And because when you respond to them, they get an email or a text, however it was set up. So, most recently, somebody was looking for their kid. It was put down as, I think I deleted it, but they had a child under 6 years of age. So I sent them my standard young artisans thing. And but it actually says, what they're interested in it. So it was younger than 6, but the only thing listed was MMA. And the whole joke of, Ruku Kempo is the original MMA because, we've got Arnis and Small Circle and karate all kind of put together. People don't know that joke, but I still reached out because the kid is under 6, totally fits within our Young Artisans program. Yeah, she looks at the quote and says, thank you, we're going in a different direction. So 2 credits gone, not interested, but she has seen, she has that information in front of me and she has access to my profile. Okay. The, what is it? The, when I was telling Lisa, I was like, this kid is under 6 years old. Like, who gets their 6-year-old into an MMA program? Unless, of course, the MMA program is doing like what I have, where I have a kids curriculum. Like, it is a kids curriculum. It is, it's designed for that age group. And then when they age out, then they can actually get into their regular classes. I don't know. So, so yeah, there's that. The, but I'm just like, who MMA for a 6-year-old? That's really what we need. There was the guy that I used to get my t-shirts from. He had a store in the mall. And so he would, of course, he was there to do custom stuff and then, also do his other stuff. Right across the way from him was an MMA/boxing gym in the mall. This was all before COVID. They had an octagon in there and they had, they had mats on the side. It was nuts. And they had a little kids class and like really teaching these kids how to, like grapple and do chokes. And I'm just like, you're teaching a 6-year-old, like, or maybe a 5-year-old to mount and choke out another 5-year-old. Like, how is that ethical? Like, I don't know. I just don't know. Like in my kids' class, yeah, we practice kicks and we practice punching, but it is but it's more for balance and coordination. And like we talk about, if we're going to punch somebody, it is the last resort. Like, this is you're 6. I don't know. I just, yeah. Anyway, so I'll respond to her later. Let's see what other exciting stuff happened. Oh, yes. So I posted this yesterday. I got Steve Perry's new book. I'm very excited about this. It is how many pages is it? It's like 266 pages. What I really like about this, so this is his final Matador novel. If you guys have not read the Matador series, it is an awesome series. I actually got online because I gave my nephew the first book, so I got online and bought him a second book, and then I got some more of the third book. In fact, I actually have one. I found one that was signed, and for me, being the book collector of the series, I found book 3, the UK print, in Australia. So I have that coming to me. It says it won't get here till the end of February, but I'm totally cool with that. I have the first 2. And those are the only books that came out in this special UK print. Got completely different covers. They look kind of goofy, like total 80s, bad 80s computer generated covers, but it's kind of one of those rare type of book things. So anyway, so I got a copy that coming, so I'll have all 3 of them. This is like, this happens at the end. But one thing that's really cool in here is that he included an addendum in the back, which is not in any of the other books. And not really an addendum, it's an appendix, but he has the list of, and I think maybe in 97 Steps, which is book 0, what I consider book 0, it is a direct prequel to The Man Who Never Missed. He does have the 19 forms of the 97 steps of Samuto. And then here he actually has the Matador Universe timeline, who was put together, and I think Dan Morin originally put it together. And I remember finding some timeline software online where I put in the dates, and like it was crazy. So like he has like when different things go into effect, when different things are born, like when different characters are born. Then he has the timeline of this is when the book starts, and like this book, Musashi Flex. And he actually has in here 2275, Siblings of the Shroud, which was a book he was going to write but never wrote, because Musashi Flex, which is the prequel. So that's actually the last book he wrote before writing Churl, is Musashi Flex. And that is essentially you meet the people that started and created the Siblings of the Shroud and the 97 Steps of Samuto. So, and then he has additional history, and then it has characters' ages, like how old these characters are, and then he has like inhabited planets, natural, terraformed, and dome colonies by systems. So like Sol, Centauri, Beta. Like this is actually really cool. So as a fan, like this is very cool. He's not disappointing anybody with this. But anyway, so I got 2 copies, one for me, one for my nephew, because and I'm going to see, hopefully, potentially at some point, if I can get together with Steve to do a couple signings, if he'll allow that. But because he doesn't go out very much anymore. But you know what else I found? So as I'm on eBay, just buying these books for super cheap, I found, and I have another coming to me, but I found these cards. So this is actually pretty cool. So there's an artist called Louis Royo, Royo. Anyway, so he did the cover of Omega Cage. So Omega Cage was not originally a considered a Matador novel, but it ended up being, they just, Steve and the other guy he did it, Michael Reeves, decided that it does fit within the universe. So it's not really a direct Matador novel, but it happens in the universe. So so this guy, this is the cover of the book. Way cool. Okay. He also did this. This is what is it? Cannot remember the name of the book. This one is for Black Steel. I don't know if you can see that. I know it's kind of dark. And then there's this one. I show that again. This one, Brother Death. So he did the cover for Brother Death. He also did the cover for 97th Step, and I already have that card, which was really weird. I don't know how I ended up finding it somewhere, but it's not part of this groupings. But I have another card on the way that he also did for Abanico, or the Albino Knife, which is a direct sequel to. It's like the first book in the second trilogy for the Matador novels. So he also did that cover. So I've got these random, I don't know why. I mean, they were a cent. They weren't a cent. They were a buck each. Bought them in bulk. So I, saved on shipping, because it was only like $1 shipping for 3 cards. But it's, which is funny, because I find these 3, I'd already ordered the Albino Knife one. And then I came across this, and it's like, oh, choose your cards. Instead of buying the whole set, I just choose my cards. I choose my cards. So anyway, so I have those, weird collector thing, but it's the Matador novels all done by this one guy. So I don't know. I'm not sure who did the art on this. I think it might have been the same person. Let's see. What does it say? Oh, cover art by Richard Berry. I wonder if they put out any cards for Richard Berry. Who did Matadora? It's got the same feel. Yeah, cover art by Richard Berry. I don't know. I'll have to do a check. I'll have to do a check on that. But super excited about that. And I can't not talk about figuring out that I was an adult and getting a tattoo. Like, and this too. Like, ooh, we're warping. We're going through a singularity. Yeah. So I actually did this last Friday. Yeah. So I actually did this last Friday. I had an appointment at noon. I didn't want to tell anybody. I think I just posted it on Facebook just the other day. but yeah, in fact, I knew what I wanted, but I didn't know how it was going to look or exactly where on my forearm it was going to sit. So originally this, I can't really, originally that, the blueprint is basically the top. Oh, there we go. The top, the side, and the front. And when I went in to go talk to Joe, he's one of the tattooists at the tattoo place, a couple doors down from me. He is a Star Trek fan, so he was like, "I'm so honored to be able to doing this for you." So he he and I have talked over the last couple months, because I actually was going to get it done in December. It was basically going to be a Christmas present for myself. But we thought about actually doing it like on the back of the forearm here. Like it was going to be here. Okay. And it was only going to be the top and the front, because that's kind of where I figured that might be a good place to put it. And so, he was playing with different sizes and all kind of stuff. And I wanted at least like the lines and the, basic measurements, because on the actual blueprints, like especially on this, like there's arrows pointing to different things, and there's all this different stuff on there. So he's like, well, I don't know if I can do that. He says, but we will at least get the longer lines put in there. And because it ends up being really, like, the picture is already really small. So it's just trying to, you fit it onto my body. So when I go in there on last Friday, he and I were, he's like, okay, well, I was thinking this and this and this. And he says, why don't we he says, let's make it bigger. He says, do we need the front on there? And then he suggested, well, you have more area on the inside of your forearm than, and yeah, it might fit on the back, but it's so much more rounded, and this is flatter. And so we talked, and I was like, oh, that's actually a really good idea. And so he's like, I think that like the side of it and the top of it would be better. And then we can actually make it bigger, so we don't really need the front. And I was like, okay, no, I'm totally game. So, he printed it off, and I was sitting there putting it on my forearm, where do I want to put it? And so I was like, okay, if we put the main one here on the inside of the forearm, that works. Okay. And then we were thinking, well, I was like, well, then why don't we just do a wrap? Because if we have this, and then the side one is like here. And he says, well, that could look weird. He says, why don't, he says, you could have it here. He says, you could have it here, so like you're punching. And I was like, that's so cool. So good morning, Harv. How you doing, man? My plan is still to come up on Sunday. It's going to be balls cold though. So I'm still playing it by ear, but my goal is still to come up. I don't have any house issues. So yeah. Sign of a good tattoo artist is they provide suggestions to ensure the best quality finished product. Yeah. So, but it was just like, how on the arm are we going to go? So, I was standing there in the mirror punching, and then I was like, okay, this is it. It should be like that. So when I punch, you get a nice, good thing. And then, and so he's like, okay, cool. We have a plan. And he put everything together, sat down, and yeah, I love it. I really love it. Now, because there is essentially this white space. There's this white space right here. I was thinking about getting, because on the side of the Enterprise, you have they have the little delta and the stripes. Okay. I was thinking about getting the Starfleet Delta. And I don't know, like, this is kind of weird. Doing it like this doesn't, but like straight arm, okay, having the Delta here on the back, where the watch would go, and then having the stripes go this way. And I was like, do I have an updated one like from the movies? Or do I do like classic, like the one that was on the original Enterprise? Because this is the original Enterprise. I haven't decided that yet. However, if I get the Delta going this way, what I want is then I will have like whatever color blue blueprints are. Like it's like a royal blue or something like that. I'll have a royal blue that then goes into a fade right before it gets to the actual ship. And then it would be a little bit, and then there would be the white lines of the blueprint. So essentially I'd have a forearm sleeve that was, that might fade a little bit, fade towards the design, fade towards the wrist. Because I don't know if I really want like a solid, solid ending or a solid ending, but basically have this blueprint. And I've got the blueprint design. I'll just use the design that I could just use the design that I used on the cover of my Kata book. So yeah. So I think it was so funny because after I got it done, I was like, that is way cool. I know how I'm going to improve it. Like it's just like, it just kind of came. And, when people talk, it's like, oh, you get one tattoo. You can't just get, you just can't get one. You're addicted. It's not, for me, it's not an addiction. It is art. Okay. It's like this was like, I didn't initially figure that this would be the beginning of the art piece, but it essentially is. It is the first, once it was on there, it was like, I know how to make this even better. Like how to really make it a cohesive, instead of just two random tattoos, and they're not random, but to really make it look way better than it already looks. So your dad got one at 76. Cool. Yeah, I'm like, I've always wanted a tattoo. Always wanted one. And it's just, I just never could. It's like, I can never figure out what I wanted. It's at some point I'll get the Delta on my chest. The Starfleet emblem with, I did see one where it was the skin. It looked like the skin was pulled back and you had, the skin was pulled back and you got the emblem, and then there's the shirt. So it's like you pull back this, and it's a Starfleet shirt with the logo on it. I think that's kind of cool. I'd like to get my the kanji of my school, because it's essentially my last name, Shokunin Martial Arts, and have that somewhere, but I don't know where. Okay. So I have you guys can see that logo. It's like a red flying flag. It's kind of hard to see the lighting and detail. So a friend of mine recreated that, and I actually used that with another little logo on top for my Matador, or I actually had a school. I called it Matador Academy. Yes, it is after the Matadors, that I did bar security training and other security training that I did through that. And so without the secondary logo on there, just the flag, I would love to have that on there as well, somewhere. I don't know. This is going to be so expensive. What's that line? from Tiger King. I'm never going to be able to financially recover from this. So I do think though, I don't know. I might use some of my little savings on the side, because the way I save money or have profit for the school is I always put 1% of everything that comes in into an account, and then I can use that for whatever I'm going to use. It's called, and I got that idea from Profit First. It's a great book. It's just a way to manage your business money smart. Okay. So you're not always, you put money in taxes, you put money in profit, and then you've got your owner's comp if there is any. But so I might use that money. So like once I actually get enough students to actually start paying the bills, then I'm going to treat myself to a tattoo. Enough said. But I've also thought, I've always wanted, because I saw this on some guy, I don't think it was on his leg, and I don't want to put it on my leg, but he had his kids' baby footprints tattooed on him. And so I thought that would be cool to have that on my left forearm. I was joking with a friend of mine that we should do one arm in Star Trek and one arm in Star Wars. But it's like, I don't know what I would get for Star Wars. I just, but I was thinking, like, I get my 3 kids with their footprints, and then as they have kids, and we already have one grandchild, we get one of their footprints, shrink it down, and put that next to. So like I would have Ashton's footprints, and then a footprint, and then next to him, I'd have a smaller one for James. And then as he has kids, then just kind of add that on. When Alexa has kids, she can add hers on. And I was thinking, well, maybe that could be on my arm. I think that would be pretty cool. I was also thinking maybe doing it on my back, on my shoulder, of having the kids, and basically going on the joke of, the kids are basically stepping on my back, that they're holding me down. I don't know. It was a joke. All right. So let's see. Let's see. I think, that would be cool. Tattoos are addictive. With that in mind, what's happening with the other arm? Yeah. Okay. So yeah, potentially the footprints. Don't know if I'm going to go Star Wars. I did joke that if I hold, like, because I can't remember, I saw one tattoo once where it was like a Bruce Lee and he was punching, and like the Bruce Lee was here and he was punching, but the arm then went out here, or I'm sorry. So the arm then went out here. And so like, if I made a punch, if I made a fist and I was punching, it would look like Bruce Lee punching. I saw a tattoo and I was like, oh, that's kind of a cool idea. And so I, like, not for me, but I just thought that was a cool tattoo I've seen. So I was like, well, if I wrap my hand like this, I could do like from up here and into here, it could look like a lightsaber. Like if I hold my hand like this, so I could, anything I'm holding, a knife, a sword, whatever, like a glowing stick, it would be a lightsaber. Now, I wouldn't do that. That is a little much, but I think that might be cool for somebody. I do draw the line for me personally, doing tats on the back of my hand, my fingers, my face. I've been rewatching Mandalorian, and Cara Dune has a little Rebel logo on her, right under her eye. So, and I know that there's, what is it? Teardrops are, for everybody that you've killed in some gang, or maybe somebody that you've lost by gang violence. Not in a gang, so I don't really know for sure, but like I could put like a little delta, a delta tear for every Star Trek person that we've lost, or maybe do a for, one for, yeah. And then, or maybe when Shatner dies, I'll do that. No, no facial tattoos. That's where I kind of draw my line. I just, no. Let's see. It's 100% artistic self-expression and having other creative outlet where the addiction is, at least for me. Yeah, I think that's, so thou doth prosthetic too much. Okay. You have a birthday in 4 months where friends and family can donate towards it. Ooh, yeah, there we go. I like it. I like it. You're in the nerd and martial arts gangs. What are you talking about? Yeah, well, potentially. I don't know. Yeah, I just draw the line at facial tattoos. For me, I see facial tattoos as one of those where okay. So thank you for clarifying. Prothesis Shakespeare. It's not about it. It's not an addiction. Thank you for us uneducated folk. Yeah, I mean, I know people who have, hand tattoos. Some of them make sense and others are just random. And I know that people I know people get tattoos because they like tattoos or they want to have that on their body, and it means something. But I don't know, some of the things that I see people getting tattoos for, I just don't get it sometimes, especially when it comes to the hand and the face. I had a student, her brother would bring her to class. This was many, many years ago. And she was an adult student. Her brother would bring her to class, and he had it was like these huge, it was just like black blocks. It was really weird, just all over. And then he had like circles on his forehead, and he would sit there and complain that he couldn't find a job. But he didn't want to sit on his butt. He didn't want to sit on his butt and talk on the phone. He wanted to, where people aren't going to see you. He wanted to work, with the public. And I trying to be nice, but still it's like, dude, I've gotten to know you. You're a nice guy, but I would not want you to be the face of my business. Unless of course you're in a you're a receptionist or taking phone calls, or like an office manager or manager for a tattoo parlor. If I've got a business that deals with the public, video rentals, martial arts, I would even put that in the martial arts. If I'm not going to go the route of sales manager, because that's not how I roll, but I'm facial tattoos. Yeah, I wouldn't, I don't know. So, but yeah, he complained all the time. I can't find a job. Nobody will hire me. Dude, it's because you have face tattoos, man. At one time you made a bad decision and now you're paying for it, unfortunately. It's like, I know you're a nice guy, but I wouldn't want you representing my business just because of your facial tattoos. Because I might like you, and I might know that you're good for the job, but I don't want to lose business because somebody comes in and doesn't want to deal with somebody with a bunch of face tattoos. There was one guy. So when I was working at the hospital, they had, okay, they pay triple for cover-ups or laser removal. Yeah. You know, I know that can be tough, but I don't know. But yeah, so there was this one guy. He had I was working at the hospital teaching PMAB, and I get a new employees. This one guy at the end, when we go around and introduce ourselves, he says he was a nurse, and he actually had transferred from a Providence in Washington, and he was transferring down to the Portland area. He had a couple face tattoos, but they weren't, they weren't bad, but they weren't like covering his face. But he had like his neck, like all the way around here, all the way down, like there was a skull. And it wasn't like if he did, like it was this evil skull, not just a regular, but it was a skull going, like something like that. And I'm like, you're a nurse? Okay. We must be hard up for nurses. And, he transferred. He did not last long. Let's just say that he did not, and I don't know how long he'd been a nurse. I don't know how long he had been in the other system, but it was one of those where I'm just like you're going to scare the shit out of some of our patients with your neck tattoo. But he also was a complete asshole. He was a complete ass. So not only did he have what I would consider an inappropriate tattoo for the career that he's in, he also did not have a very good attitude for the career that he was in. So, all right. Had a guy work for me at GameStop years back, covered face to feet, best salesman ever. His opening line was always about his tattoos. Bad decision as a kid, and he's grown. His honesty and consistency with his professionalism was amazing. Well, okay. So I've seen people, like, if they're really tattooed out and it looks artsy, like, I think that's different. I still wouldn't go there, but like this one, like this brother of my student, like there was no art to it. Like it was just it just didn't look right. But there's also, there's obviously, like with this guy at GameStop, I would think that, if people were put off, he has that great explanation. Hey, everyone was young once. We all made bad mistakes, and, I'm dealing with it, but how can I help you? To kind of put people at ease. Yeah. But I don't know. There are always exceptions, but so far I haven't really seen an exception. So, and maybe that's me judging, but for me, it's all about brand awareness. I have a friend who is, who is part of the Church of Satan, which is not what most people think. It is basically just an anti-Christian group. They are not actually worshiping Satan. It is essentially, they say that, judging me, Judgerson. Yeah, I know. But it's a lot of what they do and what they say is for shock value, specifically put at Christians. He has explained it to me. I get it. I understand it. I don't agree with it, but I understand it. But when I told him, his involvement in the school, like, I was like, I want you to be involved, but you can't be posting that stuff. You can't be involved and then post stuff like random shit like that, like he had been doing on the internet. Because if people see that this person is involved and then try to investigate him and go, oh, and they go, well, I don't want my kid coming to a school where there's, some Satan worshiper, because a lot of people don't really know. Like, I was like, he's a good friend of mine. So I'm like, okay, talk to me. Why are you going this route? Still love him, but he, he toned it down, and there's no issue. It's like, yeah, just keep that, like, have a completely different profile. If you're good, it's especially if you're going to post that shit, if it's just for shock value, then create a different online profile and do shock value that way. Everything's fine now. Like, there's no issue. But yeah, it is what it is. Have I really been flapping my, oh wow, it's been over an hour. I just talk and talk and talk. Let's see. So let's see, is there anything else? Yeah, there's really nothing else. I don't know. Anyway, my tea is actually cold. There's only a drop left, so now it is gone. But yeah, so I think that's all. Oh, Bad Batch. Can't forget about Bad Batch. Okay, so Bad Batch. I liked this episode a little bit more than the previous episode. The previous episode was a fun episode. Like, it's just one of those lighthearted, like side stories. This episode, another side story. I don't know how it progresses the story further, but it does have a connection to the first story, because we have, I cannot remember the character's name, but the actress is a comedian, black comedian, Wanda Sykes, voices the character, this like black female Indiana Jones type, treasure hunter. I think they call her a pirate, and she's like, she goes, no, I'm not a pirate. She says something about transferring antiquities or something like that. It was kind of cute. But it was kind of like a little Indiana Jones story. And I know Star Wars Theory has a theory on who could have been part of this race, because but as it predates the Jedi, so we're looking at a race that's been around for tens of thousands of years, and that maybe has been wiped out. I can't remember what Star Wars Theory's name is, or the race, but I don't know. It was an interesting storyline. I'm not a game player, but Star Wars Theory had pointed out that when when Omega had shined the light through or was looking through and then shined the light through the compass, that you could see things lit up, and then they had to move the slats into a certain thing. That was very much like Fallen Jedi, or whatever video game that is. But that is very video game-ish, is that you have these puzzles that you need to complete to get to the next level. and or not necessarily next level, but just to make it through whatever passage. So Fallen Order, cool. But yeah, so it was fun. It was it was interesting. I don't, even though it's connected to kind of the first episode when they're looking for treasure. I'm curious if it's going to be connected at all during the rest of the season. So, Emmett, sir, how are you? So yeah, we're 5 episodes in, so we have 11 more episodes to go. like we have quite a few episodes to go. We are 2 weeks away from, or at least I think we're 2 weeks away. Let me look at my little calendar here. Let's see, 1, 2. Oh, we are 3 weeks. We are 3 weeks away from Picard season 3, and then we are essentially let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4.5, 5 episodes, or 4.5 to 5 weeks until we get to Mandalorian season 3. So yeah, looking forward to both of those, very much so. But yeah, so there we go. All the news is fit to print. I think I will leave you guys now. I am not going to get any more tattoos today. Even though this one, I got a family discount since I own a business in the thing. But yeah. And then, and then I got a couple more ideas for books, but they're just jot them down. Just jot them down. I'm good. I'm 3 weeks away from being a dad again. I've never been so crazy training, trying to pack as much in now before a break. Wow. Well, congratulations. How many, what number is this for you? I've had 3. That's kind of exciting. It's always that, excited yet nervous. I think, yeah, that's very, very cool. But yeah, so let's see. There anything else? Kid number 5, Irish Catholic and all. That's awesome. Yeah, no, that's pretty cool. So a friend of mine, in high school, my best friend in high school, he was my best man. We haven't spoken for like 20 years, but he was like, came from a very Catholic family. Like when he was born, he had nephews. He was the 7th son of the 7th son. So so his parents like treated him like a god. And then, of course, when he became friends with me, they just thought that was fantastic, because in the book of Daniel, his name was Dan. In the book of Daniel, Daniel and Michal, my full name, were friends. And then when they escaped, from whatever, I can't remember, like it's been so long since I've read the story, but when they escaped from wherever they were going, then they changed their names. And I don't know, Michal changed his name to like Macariah or some shit like that. I can't remember, but yeah. So So yeah, that's my Catholic story. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, and like almost a decade of Catholic school. So seventh son of the seventh sons sounds like the description for some future hero. Yeah, totally. The it's a big thing in Christianity. I think, I don't know. I was always told that that was just really an important number, like the seventh son of the seventh son. So, but yeah, like he had a big family. Like I said, when he was born with nephews and nieces. Like he'd be like, oh yeah, here's my nephew, and his nephew's like 21 and we're 15, So let's see. They believe in Irish folktales that they have healing powers. Oh, okay. That's cool. I can't remember that. All I know is that it was very significant. Very significant. So anyway, all right. I must leave. I will be back on Friday, so make sure that that you guys. I'm going to. So like I said, I didn't read it all this week, but I am going to start reading this. So I don't know how fast I'll be able to get through it. I remember when I was reading Musashi Flex, it took me a while to get through it, and even when I met Steve for the first time, I said, "Oh yeah." I was like, I just got Musashi Flex, or he says I got Musashi Flex when it came out, but I haven't had a chance to read it. And it was so funny because I know I don't know if I insulted him or what, but he's like, it took you, like, you're a fan, it took you this long to start reading the book. Like, I don't know. I just thought it was funny. But yeah, I didn't do any reading this week, which like actually sitting down, taking time to read, but I'm at least going to try that. And then so I'll let you guys know how far I get in the book and what's up with it. Bill, dude, tuning in just as I am logging off. So I hope you're well, sir. Yeah, so that's kind of everything that's fit to print. So if you share this, like it, share it, comment. Well, I've gotten lots of comments today, but yeah, thank you for tuning in, and I will see you all on Friday. And actually, I mean, I've got other stuff coming out. I'm starting to post more on social media, so that's another thing I've been really trying to do. But get on there on TikTok, follow me on TikTok, and like and subscribe and all that kind of stuff on there too. So love to y'all, and I will see you later. Safe and